New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, Reverend Jim Webb, author of the book, The Soul of Prosperity, 30 P's to Prosperity, as well as Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, and Prosperity from A to Z. It's always a joy to be with you because we look at prosperity as a multifaceted experience. We look at prosperity as more than money and stuff. We look at relationship prosperity, where all of our relationships are sources of peace, joy, and upliftment. We look at professional prosperity, where, in the words of Florence Scovel Shinn, we have a wonderful job with wonderful pay, where we provide a wonderful service in a wonderful way. We look at spiritual prosperity, where we have the peace that passes all understanding, and no matter what is going on in our outer worlds, we can maintain an inner infrastructure of peace. We also look at logistical prosperity, where our lives work, where struggle and conflict is minimized. And of course, we look at financial prosperity, where our finances are no longer a source of worry or concern, but are instead a source of joy, and we have more than enough to spare and more than enough to share. So we look at prosperity holistically, and we also look at prosperity in the way that Rumi, the Sufi poet, said, where he said, "Love is all around us. Our task is to remove the barriers we have placed between us and love." Well, prosperity is simply God's love taking form, and our task is to remove the barriers that enable God's love to take form in our lives so that it is lodged in our hearts, our minds, and our energies, and so that it then outpictures into our world. So each week we come to you and we discuss an aspect of either removing a barrier to the prosperity that already exists or enhancing certain practices that will enable more of prosperity. Now, as you know, I've worked with people over the last 30 years, many clients where I've provided coaching, counseling, intuitive counseling, and channeling sessions. And one of the key things I have found as a barrier to prosperity is old trauma, hidden trauma that keeps people from manifesting the prosperity that they desire. And I've equally found a resistance to addressing this hidden trauma, even though the prosperity that people desire is right on the other side. So I wanted to bring in someone to discuss this with you all. I wanted to bring in friend, mentor Ifetayo White, Mama Ife, many call her, including me. She's a Reiki instructor, a Reiki master, a spiritual teacher, a spiritual healer. She has moved through the New Thought network as a unity instructor and so many other things. And I know she's taught half the world her specific aspects of Reiki because so many of them come to me and rave about Mama Ife. So we're so glad you're here, Ife Tayo. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, Reverend Jeff, thank you. It's a delight to sit with you
Yes,
again. Yeah.
it's such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure. And I want our guests and our viewers to say hello to Mama Ife as well. Let us know you're here. Put something in the comments and feel free to dialogue through this whole experience. So, Mama Ife, one of the things that I like to do in level setting is to define trauma. In your words, what is trauma?
Yeah. Simply put, Reverend Jim, trauma is memory that is energy. Everything is energy to me. So
Yes.
trauma is energy memory that has become frozen somewhere in our bodies and
Mm-hmm.
is activated when a person or a situation triggers that memory. So
Mm,
that's as simple as I can put it. Our body remembers. Our
mm.
body remembers.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's frozen energy in our physical body. Does it also show up in our energy body as frozen
Yes.
energy as well?
Absolutely. Um, all the bodies. Let's say all the
Mm,
bodies. Um, I'm focusing right now, and I guess I highlighted the physical body because body, mind, spirit is one to me. It's
yes.
yeah, one unit. So
Mhm.
I'm not really separating it out. So when you hear me say body, I'm referring to all of our energy bodies as the aura
Yes.
field as it goes
Mhm.
out. And so as we know that that if we don't know it, I'm going to share whatever
Share
we're
it. Yes.
carrying in our energy field is also in our bodies. And
Yes.
often we're not aware. A lot of people are not really in tune to their bodies, and
Hmm.
therefore they're not attuned to really what's happening in their energy field. So this opportunity today, hopefully, will highlight will bring forward and bring to the light some awareness.
Oh, okay. You just hit something, and that is that our bodies are barometers for our energies.
Yes,
So when we feel a blockage or a freeze in our bodies,
yes,
that indicates a freeze in our energies. Is that an accurate understanding of what you said?
absolutely. And you might hear also from other healers and practitioners, the body is the last place where dis-ease shows up, okay?
Mm,
Or where disharmony shows up in the body is the last
mhm,
place. So those imbalances have already been existing somewhere
mhm,
in our mental bodies or
mhm,
in our emotional bodies in
mhm,
our auric field, okay?
mm,
So the body, because it is so dense,
mhm.
it takes a while for that energy to hit and to bring and to get our attention,
Yes.
and it will
So
get
when
our
it So when that energy crystallizes in our body because our
yes,
body is dense, and when it crystallizes to that level of density, all of a sudden we are aware of it where we weren't before. Is that accurate?
exactly. That's it. And people, that's when the wake up happens.
Yes.
That's when the calling happens. I got to do something about this. What's going on? So the body
Yes.
is our. It's a beautiful gift
Mm,
to wake us up. Now,
mm,
one of the beautiful things that you brought forward, um, when we become committed to our own growth and our own healing, we will
Mhm.
begin um, to recognize the symptoms of trauma before they hit the body. We will look at our worlds and
Yes.
realize, something is not right. There's a block here,
Hmm.
that I can't seem to get by. Why can't
Hmm.
I why can't I manifest this? Why am I not doing that? So that is when we grow our awareness, when we become more
Yes.
aware. But
Yes.
but and we have our beautiful bodies to say, okay,
Yes.
you didn't get it then, but I'm going to show you now.
I'll show you now.
Yes,
Yes. So, what you said is also just so brilliant in that we can proactively, when we become aware of our energy, our thoughts,
yes,
our emotions, we can proactively address any
yes.
imbalance before it shows up in our bodies. Is that
Thank
accurate?
you, thank you.
Ah,
Because I love what you said before we even began our conversation in your introduction about everything is already created here. The presence of the divine and all of the gifts are already here. Okay, everything is here. It's all
yes,
real. And
yes,
I love to say that I am made in the image and likeness of the divine. That's
yes,
the truth for every person. There is not
yes,
a person who is not
yes,
made in the image and likeness of the divine as a being of light. That's where it
yes,
shows up, where our similarity is. Now we're going to come
yes.
out, we're going to look different. We're going to have different
Mm,
personalities, but the truth that we are created in the image and likeness of the divine, that is real and that is true. So if when we look at that, Reverend Jim, as the perfection of the template, the blueprint
mm,
is
yes,
perfect. We
yes,
we are created in that perfection, and that perfection is all around us. So what
yes.
has happened to to make us out of alignment with that perfection? And
Mm,
that's what this human journey is all about, is figuring out how to get back to my true self, to my
yes,
divinity, to my oneness.
yes,
Therefore,
yes,
to being able to um, create everything, to know that everything that I need and want is already created in me and outside of me. So now my job is to clear away whatever that
yes,
is that is keeping me from showing up as my true
yes.
self.
Yes, and one of the things we like to do is to relate these principles back to A Course in Miracles
Yes,
to make A Course in Miracles more accessible to people.
yes,
And there's a lesson in A Course in Miracles. Love created me like itself.
yes,
And the essence of that is exactly what you said.
yes,
The essence of God and all of God's attributes, unlimited power, unlimited grace, unlimited
yes,
glory, unlimited love, is what we were created in. And that
yes,
is our essence too. And
yes.
our task is to remember that, recapture that, despite the trauma that caused us to forget.
That's right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
And
one of
that's
the
what I
things,
love.
go
I love that
ahead.
what you just said. To me, what I love is how the truth shows up in all the languages. My particular way of saying things, and from the Course of Miracles, which I studied, of course, um,
Yes,
and integrated with everything else for me. So the words
yes,
that I speak and the words that you speak, there's truth. That is what
yes.
the truth is. Yeah.
Yes. Now, one of the things I want to make a little bit clearer for our viewers is quite often when we think of trauma, we think of things that have hit our emotional bodies like a Mack truck.
Yes.
But I am wondering if trauma also consists of a whole lot of unconscious, let's call them microaggressions. And you know what brought this to mind? Janet Jackson just performed here in Washington, D.C. And I remember an article about her in Newsweek decades ago, where when she was in fourth or fifth grade, she couldn't get a math problem. And the teacher embarrassed her. And that imprinted so much on her emotional body
Yes.
that it caused her depression years later because she felt that no matter what, she wasn't good enough
Yes.
because of that incident. And we don't usually think of stuff like that as trauma, just a little microaggression, but they can have just as devastating impact. Is that accurate, or is that just me, my imagining things?
It's totally accurate. And if you can think, Reverend Jim, in our lifetimes, how many of those microaggressions take place,
Hmm.
um, some of which we forget, some of
Yes.
which we're not even aware of sometimes. Our
Mm.
bodies are such a beautiful creation that we are actually picking up energy all the time. And
Yes.
we don't think about this. Most people are not thinking about this. So
Hmm.
the microaggressions that have been spoken, some of which we remember, some of which have we forgotten.
Hmm.
um, the energies of microaggression that have been directed at us, maybe not in words, maybe just energetically, our
Hmm.
bodies always remember. If we never
Yes.
remember anything else that I say today, please remember that our bodies always remember, and that
Yes.
it always is stored in us somewhere cellularly, um,
Hmm.
until it's not. Until it's not.
Until it's not. And you know what else I love that you said, Mama Ife? I love the fact that you use the idea frozen. Because what that reminded me of are frozen pipes that can't let the water through.
Yes.
And God, love, energy, and light is a flow. And
Yes.
when it gets blocked, it can't come through because there's a piece of the pipe that's frozen.
Yes.
And when God's love, light, energy, and grace can't come through, then it blocks our prosperity because prosperity is simply the outpicturing and the flow of God's love, light, energy, and grace.
That's right.
So now we have an understanding
Yes.
of how trauma freezes the flow of God
Yes.
and can inhibit our prosperity.
Yes.
So I'd like us to go to break. And then when we come back, I'd like for us to explore that some more. And I'd like to hear comments from our viewers as well here on The Miracle of Prosperity on the New Thought Media Network.
People of African Descent New Thought Group proudly presents Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village, Thursday, August 1st through Sunday, August 4th. Some of our greatest keynote speakers, some of our finest musicians and vocalists, some of our amazing and experienced panelists, and some of our fabulous masterclass presenters will be there for you at Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village this summer. Regular registration ends June 30th, so don't delay. Register today at padntg.com. Sponsorship opportunities are available at padntg.com. Volunteer opportunities are available at padntg.com. Go there now, padntg.com. See you there.
New Thought Radio, music from all your favorite New Thought artists. From Jamie Lula, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, Ricky Byers, Daniel Namod, Eddie Watkins Jr., and many, many more. 24/7 New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity. And I'm so thrilled and proud to have with us today Ifetayo White, spiritual healer, teacher, and today she is helping us to understand trauma and how trauma blocks prosperity. And in this next segment of our show, I'd like to discuss with you, Ifetayo, how we can begin to address trauma so that it no longer blocks our prosperity.
Thank you. Absolutely. I I want to begin this conversation by really bringing forward that everyone, every human being has experienced some degree of trauma, and most of us are still carrying some degree of trauma. Now, some of us have worked on our trauma energy for
Mhm.
as long as we have. Some are
Mhm.
just beginning to realize how it could be trauma memories that are blocking them from expressing and being
Mhm.
all of who they know they could be. So I just want
Yes.
to start there, just
Okay.
in acknowledging that we all have some trauma still that we carry. It is one of the callings of this lifetime. And when
Mhm.
I say trauma, again, let me just give a little definition um, of trauma being frozen memory that is still living in our
Mm.
bodies, our physical bodies,
Mhm.
our mental bodies, our emotional bodies, on out and out. Now,
Mm.
we're familiar with the term fight or flight. Okay. So
Yes.
now that has been expanded over the last decades to include or to now be fight, flight, or freeze,
Mm.
because trauma has become has come to the forefront in the world of knowing, whatever, from whatever perspective, psychological, spiritual, energetic. So
Mhm.
freeze has been added to one of the
Mm.
ways that we as human beings respond. These are our
Mhm.
fear responses. We either
Mhm.
fight, we either fly, or we either
Mhm.
freeze. Okay.
Mm.
And trauma is the freeze.
Mm.
That's the freeze. So
Mm.
when you actually earlier you spoke of a microaggression. So
Mhm.
maybe in that moment, and someone says something to you, you might not have thought you were freezing, but there was a
Mhm.
part of you that constricted, that just
Mm.
shut down. And it could
Mm.
have been almost undetectable at the moment. Uh,
Mm.
and then
Mhm.
later you realize, I feel worthless. I remember this person
Mm.
saying that to me, but that's a
Mm.
that's a memory and a feeling that got stuck. It did not flow
Yes.
through us. It did not flow.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, so number one to me is acknowledgement and recognition that anything that I can see in my life that I have not been able to attain, to manifest,
Mhm.
to reflect, is a
Mhm.
result of some memory that is
Mhm.
frozen in me. Boom,
Mm.
boom, boom.
End of story.
End of
If
story.
I am not able to express, experience, or achieve this,
Yes.
then the block is some frozen memory within me.
What else could
So
it
what
be?
do we do with that?
What else
What do
would
we do
it
with that?
be? I,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a
What else
belief.
would it be?
Okay, so a
Yes.
belief system. We can go
Yes.
there. And
Mhm.
a trauma belief system. Uh, um,
Yes.
there is something in my belief system that's frozen. There's no
Mm.
flow. I cannot
Mm.
flow to envision myself having all of that, being all of that, serving as bigly as that. There's a frozen
Mm.
place. And I call it trauma. Now, you could call it
Yes.
something else, but it is
Uh-huh.
a belief system, a part of
Mhm.
my belief system that where the flow has been impeded, okay,
Yes.
of creativity, of faith, of
Yes.
knowing my oneness with source, all of the
Yes.
things. Okay. So something
Yes.
happened. What happened? Something happened. If something had not happened, Reverend Jim, we would be the expressions of the divine that we are. With
Yes.
everything, there would be
Mm.
no incapacity to
Yes.
be or to have. So,
Mm.
so we can, we can just operate from that place. And
Mm-hmm.
there's not a wrongness about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
humanness. It's the
Mm-hmm.
way of life. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
the acknowledgement and the awareness is number one. Number
Okay.
two is asking the question, as you did, what can we do? What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yes.
remember. Some people, I don't remember anything happening to me. I
Yes.
don't remember. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay, so let Ifetayo say this
Mm-hmm.
because okay, I'll be 80 in March. I've had a lot of experience. I came on this
Mm-hmm.
path consciously in my 30s, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's 40 some years ago. I've been working
Yes.
with this. I've been working with the
Yes.
principles of
Yes.
um, of the divine thought, principles of
Mm.
energy work, of
Yes.
birthing, of the whole world. So
Mm-hmm.
death and dying, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I do want to say is that we can know that healing, I like this, healing our trauma is the key to our prosperity in all of the ways Reverend Jim mentioned in the beginning. And the acknowledgement, the awareness, the
Mm-hmm.
question of what can I do,
Mm.
and sit. If we don't have a conscious awareness, say I don't remember something
Yes.
happened, I don't remember.
Yes.
Sit with the question.
Mm.
The call compels the answer. The
Can you
call,
repeat that, please? That is so important for our viewers.
the
Please
call
repeat that.
compels the answer.
Mm.
Prayers are always answered. I mean,
Mm.
this is like number one.
Mm.
This is like new thought level number one.
Yes.
I can trust that I will receive an answer. I might not know.
Mm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
sit with the question of
Mm-hmm.
what can I do? Now,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there's a certain amount that we can do for ourselves. Sometimes we might have to have someone walk with us. Some
Mm.
traumas have been really detrimental and harmful
Mm.
to
Yes.
our existence and to
Yes.
our capacity to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and in that case, I would advise that we seek the partnership of someone
Mm-hmm.
who can walk with us through the recalling and the transmuting of that energy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
big in transmutation of energy. And
Yeah.
transmutation of energy is really changing. It's just
Yeah.
changing the vibe, changing the
Mm-hmm.
vibe. So
Yeah.
if I don't remember, but if I do want a bigger existence, a bigger world, a more loving relationship, more material, whatever it is we want, more satisfaction in my service, then I can begin by actually, again, going back to ask the question and sit in silence, sit and meditate, sit and wait to to hear what my next steps might be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the most simple remedies for healing, transmuting, releasing trauma from our physical bodies, from our minds, is the breath.
Mm.
And if I don't say anything else, the breath
Yes.
is the bridge of the physical and the spiritual. The breath
Yes.
is the bridge of the physical and the metaphysical. The breath
Yeah.
is the bridge of the seen and the unseen.
Yes.
Go to the breath. Go to the breath and name my breath, a clearing breath as I breathe in
Mm.
and as I breathe that breath through my body. Name that breath of light as I breathe
Mm-hmm.
in. the breath is an energy gift of ours that we can name the quality
Yes.
of that breath. So it becomes a
Mhm.
healing tool. The breath
Yes.
is like amazing, number one,
Yes.
always with us. We don't have to do it.
Yes. Yes. So interestingly enough, the breath, when we breathe, we are massaging our solar plexus. We are bringing light into our solar plexus where our emotions have perhaps gotten frozen. And through that breath work
Yes,
and through the massaging of the solar plexus and
yes,
through the bringing of light into the solar plexus and through the release of
yes,
darkness from the solar plexus,
yes.
we are unclogging a pipe in a sense. Would that be accurate?
I love it. I love how we're on the same page. Coming from
Yes.
wherever we're coming, it's perfect.
Yes.
And
Yes.
imagine also, Reverend Jim, that as we breathe that breath, what else are
Hmm.
we doing? We're making more room in ourselves. We're making more
Yes.
space so that
Mhm.
whatever needs to leave will have more room to leave. So
Yes.
if we're just sitting, let's say we're just hearing this discussion and we never thought
Hmm.
about this before. So we're
Hmm.
sitting and our solar plexus, our sacral, our heads, our hearts are
Yes.
all like have this much
Hmm.
room, okay, from the
Yes.
trauma.
Hmm.
So we begin to breathe and
Yes.
expand. We so
Yes.
how whatever needs to move through us, the flow
Hmm.
has more room to flow. So there you
Yes.
have right there the breath. Oh my God, if we do nothing else, let's
Yes.
start
For
there.
example, yes, for example, I do yoga a lot. And some of the first yoga poses cause us to open the lungs and
Yes,
release as fully as possible. And that gets us ready for everything else. For the whole process
yes,
is about releasing from the body,
yes.
which clears the energy flow, which causes release of that which is no longer needed.
That's right. Absolutely.
And at
Beautiful.
the end, interestingly enough, they do this thing called Kapalahati breathing. I probably got it wrong. But what it is forcing your solar plexus to
Yes,
draw in, forcing the breath out, and
yes,
you start doing this automatically. And
yes.
before you know it, you're a puddle of water crying on the floor because not only have you released with the breath, you've released the emotions, you've released shame,
Thank
you've
you.
released pain, you've released old trauma.
Thank you. This is it. You have hit it on. And how perfect is this discussion? We didn't talk about this beforehand, but
Yeah.
it is the truth and it is the perfection. And the way you described it, a puddle on the floor, because sometimes this release of trauma is going to bring emotion. It's going to be emotional. And it's so
Yes.
good, the washing away with the
Yes.
tears, making the puddle. It is
Yes.
it is divine. It's divine. And
It is divinely
it really is.
transformational.
And
Yes.
you don't, one of the things that I tell my clients and my folks, you don't have to remember all of the things that happened. You really do not. You don't have to
Mhm.
know you don't have to.
You don't
Just
have to pinpoint everything through the third grade. The body remembers if you
the
don't.
body
That's all it is.
remembers. And you can look at your life. Look at your life and see where you need and want more, more openness, more oneness with the divine in the reflection of my life. So know that there's some stuck places, there's some frozen places. So I don't have to remember everything everybody said to me, everything that was done to me. I don't have to remember every car accident that jerked my body that I'm still holding that fear. I don't have to
Mhm.
remember. All I have to do is to find practices that are going to make space in me
Yeah.
and allow the flow of whatever I've been holding to pass
Yes.
through.
Practices such as yoga, practices such as meditation, practices such as being in the space with other like minded individuals in discussion, in growth, in
Yes,
healing, in meditation, practices such as working with a professional
yes,
who can help you and guide you,
yes,
especially a professional who is not only adept at the words, but a
yes.
professional who is also equally adept at the energy. Would that be
That
accurate?
I absolutely. I because I am an energy worker, and
Yes.
because I have a mental health background, and because I have trailed through my own trauma, then
Uh-huh.
I will always include energy in some form, and even breath work is energy, affirmations is energy, whatever
Yeah.
moves, the movements of is what we want to do. So yes, energy in some form to me, I have friends who are psychotherapists. I've had clients and I have friends who have been in psychotherapy.
Hmm.
And it's one thing to sit and talk about your trauma
Mm.
over and over and over. That
Hmm.
is, you see how my hand is going over and
Yes.
over and over.
It
Well,
becomes a cycle.
yes. So what we are talking about today is how
Uh-huh.
to move the energy so that it's a flow and that we've
Yeah.
made more space inside of ourselves for
Yes.
more capacity to be and live the lives that we are created to be and live. Yeah.
Yes. So if I could just bring out one point for some of our viewers, it is very easy for us to be almost addicted to or hypnotized by our stories in that cycle. What
Yes.
it is probably more useful to do is to use our stories as a trigger for flow as opposed to getting
Yes.
stuck in a cycle and addicted to our stories. Would that be accurate?
Thank you. Absolutely. Let our stories be an inspiration. Let our
Hmm.
stories be an inspiration, and not
And not a
what is it?
definition.
And not a
Not a definition, not a
definition.
criticism, not a box that we place ourselves in because we are more than our stories. Sometimes I put it this way: here is your story, and here is your glory. Which would you rather be?
Yes.
And you have to
Thank
release
you.
your story in order to be your glory.
Absolutely. And while you're talking about this, I do want to bring up, we hear so much these days about racialized trauma. And that is
Hmm.
not just for people looking like us, not just for
Yeah.
Black folks. Racialized
Yes.
trauma is for every folk because we do carry in a cellular memory
Yes.
of
Yes.
genetics. Okay, so
Yes.
in this day and age, we are being called, all of us, to
Yes.
heal racial trauma. And it could
Yes.
be that of the enslaved, that of the owners
Of the
of the enslaved.
enslavers.
We have
Yes.
to heal it all. It is in us.
Yes. Yes.
So I want,
That's so fascinating because I've been doing this thing over the last couple of weeks because our nation is in trauma. I've been doing this thing called Spirit Speaks on Today in the World.
oh, yeah,
And one of the things they talked about was just that, how our nation is in trauma.
yes,
And it's not just the enslaved, it's not just the newest immigrants. It's not, it's every generation that has come through in the nation
yes,
has been on the lowest rung of the ladder with the least social capital at one point. At
yes,
one point, it was the Italians. At one point, it was the
yes,
Irish. Even in our lifetime, Ifetayo,
yes,
it was just thought impossible that there could be a Catholic president.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so we're all almost like that line from Dreamgirls, Effie, we've all got pain.
Yes.
We've
Oh,
all have a level of trauma in this nation, and that's what's coming out in some of the ugliness that we are seeing. And
thank
that
you.
is not necessarily bad.
Yes,
That is a healing and a cleansing so our nation can move to its next level of peace, prosperity,
yes,
balance, and healing.
absolutely. And
And
that's
so,
what you
go ahead.
said earlier about the witnessing and of this trauma. It's not our story, but it's our call to glory. It's our
Yes,
call to glory. And so
yes,
let us remember that as we are
yes.
um, witnessing and maybe identifying with the trauma of certain people, of certain situations, let us
Hmm.
remember that this is not who we are. This is our calling to glory. This is
Yes,
not, does not have to be um, our frozen story. It doesn't
yes.
have to be a frozen story.
Yes. Oh, Ifetayo, this is so wonderful. And I know our viewers are getting a lot, and we're so thankful for their comments and their dialogue. Um, for someone who might be thinking that, wow, everybody's got so much trauma. Where do I begin? Because I know some people get intimidated. What is a good place to, how do we begin this process?
Okay, I'll go back to accepting that we all have trauma from one extent to another. Okay, we live in this world, and we are one. It's a oneness, a world.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm.
let's just say we have some degree of trauma, some degree of frozen memory in us. We can all expand, we can all be bigger. So
Mhm.
the acknowledgement is first. And then
Mhm.
I'm going to just suggest you always have your breath, it is
Mm,
always with you. The
okay.
breath can take you to places that so much else might not. So that is an easy first step.
Mm.
Okay, if
Mhm.
you might want to sit in meditation, you just might want to
Yes.
sit outside in nature. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Nature
Yes.
is a big healer, absolutely.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so when you think about, again, releasing trauma, or that it might be scary, the arms of Mother, Father God, Mother Earth, Father Heavenly
Mm.
Father, to surrender and let ourselves be held through our fear of
Mm.
what might come up if,
Hmm.
as we are beginning to address this trauma. Breathe, just
Yes.
as with any anxiety, with any
Yes.
fear. The breath,
Hmm.
take the breath
Yes.
there. Just keep
Yes.
breathing. Sometimes I have to breathe all day long, but I
Hmm.
do, because I am
Yes.
determined that I want to live to my fullest. And if
Yes.
that's what it takes for me to come through the
Hmm.
worry that I might be experiencing that day, or the
Hmm.
anger is another way
Hmm.
trauma shows up, or the fear,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
breath is a cleansing, the breath is a clearing, the breath
Yeah.
is a transmuting.
Mm. Yes. So
Start
every morning, go
Start
ahead.
there. Start there.
Yes.
And then be in touch with someone if you have more questions, or if you feel like you need more support. Um,
Hmm.
then be in touch with Reverend Jim. Be in touch with me. Be in touch with
Hmm.
many, many others who are out there, who can sit with you, who can walk with you, who can share words or touch or energy with
Hmm.
you, and,
Yeah.
and receive support, receive the
Yes.
love.
Yes.
Yes.
Every morning, we do a lesson in A Course in Miracles. And the first thing we do is we breathe it in. We
Yes.
breathe in the lesson. We breathe in the import. We breathe in the energy. We breathe in the words. We breathe in the energy beneath the words.
Yes.
And we find that when we breathe it in and take it into all of our energy centers, when
Yes.
we breathe it in and take it into our energy, our mind, our hearts, and when we breathe it in so it courses through our meridians, and when we breathe it in so that our cells vibrate with it, we internalize the lesson so much more than if we just had an intellectual experience of it.
Can I say something to that again as an energy worker? The
Absolutely.
words of the Course of Miracles are not just words, they are
Yes.
transmutations, they are
Yes.
transmissions, just like
Yes.
many other sacred works.
Mm-hmm.
In Reiki, we have the five Reiki precepts, which are
Mm-hmm.
transmissions. They're just not words just for today.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
when you breathe them in, you have already begun changing cellularly. Don't
Yes.
negate the power of these powerful words. The Course in
Yes.
Miracles can change you. And
Mm.
with your breath, can you imagine breathing in the energy of those words are
Mm.
changing you cellularly? So that
Mm.
is another way of dealing with your trauma. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
sit and talk about it a thousand. Just do what you need to do to transmute it. That's all
Yes.
I'm asking. Do what you need to do to change that
Yes.
energy.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I'm on such a high, and
Me
I am
too.
so glad that you are here and serving our viewers in this wonderful way. We want a little more of you, and we'll get a little more of you on the other side of the break. So, folks at home, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity on the New Thought Media Network with our beloved Mama Ifetayo White. And we are looking at healing trauma that blocks our prosperity. And we thank you so much for your words of wisdom in terms of how to identify trauma, how to let trauma flow through you and transmute it, and how we can go forward to allow more prosperity. Is there more that you want to say on this topic, Ifetayo?
Oh boy. I could talk. I mean, we could stay here for a very long time.
Hmm.
I Let me see. What would I want to say now? The I
What would
want
you leave our viewers with?
Okay. What I would leave our viewers with is don't allow the familiar to hold you in a place of not being prosperous in every area of your life. That is the familiar is the fear, and fear is
Mm,
trauma. So we might be sitting in pain. We might be sitting in just not knowing what is wrong with my life, but it's
mhm,
familiar. So
mhm.
the fear of what's under that will often keep us sitting right there.
Yes,
It is my deepest desire that we take one step forward to break through the familiar. Yes, I might be a different person. Yes, my world might be different. Yes, the people in my world might be different, but it's all going to be for your highest good and more joy, more peace, more love, more prosperity is on the other side of that. So just take
yes,
that step, take that breath, engage in the Course of Miracles and other sacred texts. Breathe in that energy and let at your own pace the familiar break away, the familiar pain, the familiar stuckness,
mm,
the familiar complaints, and um, just take that one step.
yes. Take a breath, take a step, and step into light and out of the darkness that is familiar and comfortable.
Thank you. Amen.
Thank you. Amen. So you're working on some quite interesting things, I hear, specifically around trauma. Would you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, my latest offering. My latest
Yes.
offering is a virtual workshop, weekend workshop, 3 days of the title of which is Where Next with Healing the Trauma. And this workshop will take place via Zoom. It will be recorded the weekend of Friday, August 23rd, Saturday, August 24th, Sunday, August 25th, just for 2 hours each one of these sessions. There will be a workbook. There will be some assignments to carry us through, because we, in those 2 hours and 2.5 hours in some cases, or 1.5 hours in some cases, varying times, then I want us to have a carry over thread through those 3 nights. But this is the first time that I've offered condensed into one weekend powerful work for us for breakthrough. And this is truly a workshop that I am I don't want to guarantee anything, because everybody's consciousness will be different. But the intention, my intention, is that there will be breakthrough, and that there will be tools that you will leave with for your own healing and the healing of your loved ones.
Yes. Oh, that sounds so wonderful, so exciting. And with you as a teacher, I know it will be effective. Now, some of our viewers have gotten conditioned, and the way that they've gotten conditioned with Zoom classes and online classes is that some prefer to take them on their own at their own pace. Is there a way to audit this as well, so that you can take it at your own pace, if possible?
Yes, the whole weekend will be recorded, and
Okay.
I will have a means on my website.
Yes.
Anyone who is interested in attending the workshop and at their own pace, once we have done the live virtual call, absolutely, it will be available.
Oh, wonderful, because I know so many of my viewers love that option as well. And it's a win-win, because those who are unable to interact live make more room, because my classes always sell out. And those who are unable to interact live make more room for those who are able, and everybody benefits. So I'm looking forward to this, and I know some of our viewers will look forward to this as well. Looks like you're working on some exciting stuff.
Thank you. And what are you doing? What's up with you, Reverend Jim?
Oh, well, my classes are sold out, and people can still get the recordings of my classes on Spirit Speaks More on Manifestation and More Manifestation Methods. However, I recently got an experience triggered by the debate and the political turmoil. The insight that I got was everybody was going nuts. And I said, we're listening to all these pundits and all these people who really don't know anything. What does Spirit have to say about it? And let me tell you, I was amazed, because the people who have attended my Live at 5 sessions, they've come out of them calm, peaceful, serene, confident, and what seemed to shake up their world was back in balance once again. So I'm doing Spirit Speaks on the World Today, Monday at 5 p.m. live. Of course, it will stream on my Facebook Live page, and it will stream on my YouTube page as well. And of course, it's available afterwards too. My producer, Reverend Michael, has experienced it, so he can speak to it more than I. Reverend Michael, what was your experience of these live sessions every Monday at 5?
Well, hello there. I didn't expect to be invited on to be a guest here. First of all, is understand that for my New Thought tradition, channeling is wasn't taught. Okay, so for me to be a part of that, it's a new experience. And I felt very comforted that individuals, and I know that individuals also felt very comforted, and they had questions. So it was just really reassuring. I felt more at peace afterwards. So,
Yes.
so
Good.
does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. So I want to
welcome.
encourage everybody to see us live at 5 on Monday, because we had more questions last week than we had time to address. So I'll have Spirit address the existing questions. Others may want to put questions in the chat while we do it, and we'll just continue, because each time you ask questions, they peel back another layer of what is really happening in our world and how we are able to heal it and to fix it. So this is Monday live at 5. And if you want to look at some of the back ones, go to my Facebook page, you'll see them there. Go to my YouTube page, you'll see them there. And you don't have to look at the other ones in order to be prepared for this one, but sometimes you might get some reassurance from those prior two sessions that we did as well. So that's what I'm up to these days.
Thank
But
you.
thank you, but I'm more thankful for this wonderful healing session. And I am so appreciative to you, Ifetayo, for taking time out of your busy weekend to be with us today. Thank you so
I'm so
much for
grateful.
all of your wisdom and guidance. And I want to thank our producer, Michael Mangus, as well as our viewers here on the Miracle of Prosperity. We'll see you next time here on the New Thought Media Network.